Next
Thank
one is
you.
from Najee Sneed. Subject: I forgot to put my name in the last email. Hey Conan and Disco, my name is Najee. I commented on a video you posted on YouTube about the Fiend and Goldberg. I said, quote, the Fiend lost momentum anyway. Seth Rollins, question mark, The Miz, question mark, Daniel Bryan, question mark. Those feuds didn't help. The Fiend at all. But even when the WWE tries to build up new stars, the audience usually turns to them because fans are smarter now to force pushes. So they bring back legends because they are now fresh new faces. That's why Brock is still a bit of attraction because he's part-time. What is your opinion on when the WWE tries to push new guys, the crowd usually turns on them and gets over them fast? Yeah, but they don't push. They beat these guys too much when they try to get guys put guys over. And the crowd doesn't necessarily turn. The crowd just turns because like they don't really treat him like a star. You know,
the crowd can be fickle too. I mean, they started that way with Reigns. They never gave Reigns a chance. I was one of the. I'm a part of that.
Yeah,
you know?
but we all knew why. There was a reason.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with Rollins. You know, Rollins gets the big push. He beats Brock. It's a big deal, and then 2 months later, he's already getting booed. You know, they do turn against the top star or whoever pretty quickly, and that's been a pattern for the last 10 years at least, right? Even before that with Cena.
Then why? Right, because they were sick of Cena, bro. There was a reason. I think for everyone, there's kind of been a reason. They were getting into the Fiend. So why would you be, they were finally getting behind somebody. So why would you do that? You know what I'm saying?
They do it all the time.
Yeah. Well, and plus they want to go with Goldberg and Reigns.
You can still do that without beating the Fiend, Joe.
No, yeah, and he could have been him versus Cena with the belt still on the line. I agree.
Bro, I can give you 4 different scenarios.
Yeah.
Listen, I've said this a million times, and I'll say it one more time. I don't know how or why, and this happens sometimes, bro. And it's probably because they're so fucking big. They've lost their way. They're not what they used to be, you know? They were the standard on making stars, building stars, storylines, everything. They don't know how to do that anymore. I don't know why, but with all the people that they have there that were there when business was good, I don't know if they're making so much money, they're just content or it's too big. But bro, if you can't pay attention to at least Raw and make that good, you're like in kind of big trouble because that how's the rest of the company being run? Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I was at the Elimination Chamber Sunday night, right?
Right.
And I've never
I heard that you also had an Elimination Chamber in your room with 5 other guys. What was that all about?
Oh, if it's my room, I'm going over. But
that's true.
The crowd, and there's been stories now going around that Vince doesn't believe in Shayna Baszler. He already wants to kind of pull the plug on her. They're not going to go all the way with her. And I can tell
look
you,
what we did to Ricochet.
Yeah. But I mean,
Ricochet was on Main Event this week.
I can tell you from being there that crowd was not into Shayna. Like I was watching the match, I was sitting up in the box. I was right over all the fans sitting there, and I could literally hear 10 to 12 individual conversations going on, and like nobody cared. Nobody was paying attention.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How many people were in that arena that you went to?
I don't know, 16,000, something like that.
How many
15.
does it hold?
For wrestling, it was probably. I think it was sold out.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. Now in the year 2020, when was the last time you went to a WWE show as a fan?
Yeah, I was at the pay-per-view last year, Extreme Rules in Philly. So I go maybe once a year.
All right, so once a year. So my first question is, what is the biggest difference from Joe that used to go to wrestling when you were, a kid, and now in the wrestling crowds?
The crowd, the WWE crowd isn't as into the show. Philly crowds used to, react huge to everything, and now, like I said, it's almost kind of. I was taken aback by how little attention they were paying for some of these matches, and the same thing with Seth Rollins' match. Seth Rollins' match, it was so quiet. It was dead quiet during that match that he had.
Okay.
So
tell me the 3 or 4 most over people doesn't have to be a wrestler on the show.
AJ.
Wow.
I'm looking. Brian. Undertaker.
Okay. Yeah. And the 3 that people hated.
Rollins. I'm just looking real quick. Rollins for sure. Zayn was getting heat, but it was good heat. People were paying attention to that match. So Zayn in a good way. Rollins was kind of being ignored, and Baszler, I couldn't believe they at least didn't have Becky come out and face off with her. Like they ended the show with her winning and pretty much beating up everybody, and the crowd could not have cared less.
Well, did she choke out 4 or 5 girls in a row?
Yeah, yeah. It just
were the people booing at any of this? Or just quiet?
Yeah, it was more quiet. It was more quiet than even booing. So, and people left pretty kind of like deflated, you could tell, So,
What was the hottest thing on the show?
Undertaker coming out and attacking AJ. So you see, I guess maybe, I mean, that's what we're talking about. Why do they always bring back nostalgia acts or whatever? Well, this is why. I just saw it live and in person. That Undertaker was the most excited that crowd got all night.
Right, because that's always going to get over, bro.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But at least Undertaker ain't going over there and beating a guy, and you know what I'm saying? Like, and ending his fucking push like they did with The Fiend.
Right.
They brought him in at the right moment. He went in there, and he got over on AJ, he's a good heel now, and people got that pop,
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't a bad show, but you can just tell in the crowd when people aren't into something, and like it like I said, it got to that point where I could just hear people talking, not even about the show necessarily, like just having conversations while the main event's going on. I was like, guys, this ain't good, And they always say, well, Vince is this, Vince is out of touch or whatever. But if that's the reaction he's seeing Shayna Baszler get around the country or whatever, then he's on point with this. I don't know that she's ready to be that big of a deal yet.
That's okay. I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
But please explain to me, which I know you can't because it's not because I know you wouldn't do this. But why would you do that to Ricochet?
I don't know. That's
why would
wild.
you do that to The Fiend? Why would you? Because that's a Vince call, probably.
Yeah.
Why would you do that to The Fiend?
Somehow
you could have still gotten him over without beating The Fiend.
I guess they wanted to do the thing and crown Reigns at the end of the show, hold up the belt again. We're crowning Roman again. Once he beats Goldberg, that's probably I don't know if that's the main
saying
event.
You could have gotten there without. You could have gotten to where you need to get, Joe, without sacrificing The Fiend. That's all I'm saying.
No,
you have this special guy who's not so special anymore because he got fucking speared in 3 seconds, and I don't even call that a jackhammer. But anyways, got boom jackhammered. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it gives, at the end of the day, I give Goldberg credit, bro. I give him credit. He's doing it. People believe in him. He's 50 years old.
Yeah.
And people, they still get into him, and it's pretty cool because he's from my era. Mm-hmm. So it's like, wow, he still works in this era done right. But at the end of the day, all the people that don't like him, when they see that jackhammer, that they're like, wow, he beat him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You just give him more fodder.
Yeah.
And evidently WWE is reading a lot of this, which they used to ignore them before. As you know, they ignored the fan all the time. It just seems they're listening to them a lot more now. But even when they're listening to them, what use is it if at the end of the day Vince is reversing everything you're doing?
Yeah. And it's.
I mean, isn't Vince watching the product enough to see how over the Fiend is, and how great Ricochet could really be?
I've read that he hadn't been there for a while or wasn't staying till the end of shows and shit like that. So it's funny that he's still obviously at the top making all the decisions, but he's really not attending like he used to either. So how can he have a fair assessment of what's going on at the shows if he's not even there? But we've talked about before many times about how Wyatt has been cut off at the knees and all that. I thought back in the day that he should have been the one to take the streak from Taker and then build him from there. Like that would have made him.
Cool.
Bray Wyatt when he lost to Taker at Mania, and I was like, that was a few years ago at this point. But
wasn't there another one where he lost to Cena, Bray Wyatt?
He lost to Cena the year before.
When they should. That right there is when they should have made him. That's a guy that missed out. There was a moment where they could have really, really made Ryback, bro.
Yeah,
and they didn't.
Yeah,
I think it was a CM Punk match. Which now when you talk to him, he's so cool. You're like thinking but you don't know how he was back then. He might have been immature. Maybe he might have hurt some people.
Yeah.
Who knows? But he had heat, obviously. There's
a lot of guys taking shots at him on social media. Like I don't know if they're friends and they're just dicking off back and forth.
Yeah.
But like Ziggler and Wade Barrett, they're all like they keep taking shots at him. Like I think he'll post a picture of him like having Ziggler in a chin lock, and Ziggler and Barrett tweeted back shit like, yeah, and then is this the big guy that hurt everyone and set the business back 10 years and shit like that? And you never know if they're really saying, if they really don't like this guy or if it's just goofing off, So,
right.
But people, the Andrade versus Carrillo match was, people were way into that. You could tell Philly was ready for those guys,
Yeah, because the Philly, the fans are smarter now, so they know. They're like, okay, Andrade's a great worker. He's not getting pushed, but we know he's a great worker. This Carrillo kid's a good worker too. They're gonna go out there and they're gonna kill it because they're lucha guys. They're Mexican. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People like know that. Like they know what's going on too. But it pisses them off because they're so smart now that they're like, okay, we'll follow him even though he's not getting a push. But at the same time, you're pissing them off because they're like, why aren't you pushing this guy? You know? And then it comes to the point where how many fans actually say, you know what? I'm tired of supporting a product that doesn't give a shit what me or some other fans think. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? How many of those people are you driving away? Is it more than you're bringing in? So
that's what happened. That's what happened to me. I don't watch the TV anymore. I'll go to the shows. Like Shane will hook me up or whatever, and I'll take my dad or my brother. They like it, so that's a cool little perk that I get.
And here's the other thing that they were great at, and WCW was great at this too, bro. And you'll remember this when WWE's been at its hottest and WCW was at its hottest. It was must-watch TV. Like you couldn't wait to the next week to see what was going to happen.
Yeah,
you don't see that anymore.
No.
The last time I felt like that in WWE was CM Punk.
Yeah. Yep.
How about you?
Well, obviously, I was such a big fan at one point that I started a podcast. So I was way into it, and then it tapered off like a few years ago. I went down. I was down at Mania. Maybe it's like that's when I stopped really being that into it. It's like, all right, I've been down here. I've seen all the stuff I wanted to see. The TV's not that good. I don't know, but it's been a few years since I regularly was like crazy about the product.
Well, because here's the thing: when you grow up with the great wrestling you grew up with, and we grew up with, and then you see this, we have something to compare it to, and we're like, fuck, this could be so much better. A lot of kids don't have anything to compare it to. That's all they know, and they're like, okay, this is entertaining to me, But obviously, it's a much smaller sample size.
Yeah.